Build show today, we're doing something we've never done before. We're gonna show you a full system walkthrough on the Schluter tile system. We're gonna go from waterproofing to actually setting a very large format tile, and we're gonna show you a couple of brand new Schluter products that really solve some problems from builders and remodelers. Today's build show is sponsored by Schluter. Let's get going. Okay, y'all, let me introduce you to Dan with Barrett Flooring. Dan, thanks for coming on with me today.
Thanks for having us.
And Javier is your guy who's been doing an amazing job. Talk me through where Javier has gotten to at this point.
Well, we put up our Schluter KERDI board. We've used their galvanized screws and washers. This is their product, and then we're going to soon band over this, any seam or penetration.
And then you're also going to band over each one of these individual
Every
washers,
single
right?
penetration that you see will get some of this KERDI band, and that will, that'll waterproof the walls.
Makes sense. I like how these washers create the perfect dimple to make sure the membrane's not punctured, but gives you that flush surface. So when you put the band on there, the KERDI band, now we've got that continuous KERDI waterproofing on there.
Correct.
I also have this KERDI board at my house. And when I first saw this product come on the market, I was worried, oh, will my tile crack? Because this is not, that real heavy cement board like we've used for years out on the job site. But you know what? My tile, now that I've been in my house 2 years later, absolutely perfect. So I trust it. It's a good product. Talk to me about penetrations, though, because we got a lot of penetrations in this waterproofing we've got to deal with.
We love the Schluter pipe seals. We use them in all of our installs, and they're as simple as they look. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of a roofing penetration, right? Where you got a gasket on there. And in this case, this will get thin setted on there, so that will make a continuous band. If you had a 1/2-inch pipe, they also make it for a 1/2-inch pipe. And then what do we do about the shower valve?
Yeah, we have these mixing valve seals, and a lot of them, work with the stock one. Yep. But if you have something that is a little more custom or just a different brand, we use KERDI-FIX, which is really easy to use. We'll hit every corner and every edge with the KERDI-FIX, and then we will tile to this, and then we would just cut this out to make sure that it's flush with our tile install.
Gotcha. Now walls are on first, and then we're doing the pan. It kind of feels a little backwards. I get that. You'll see why everything works perfectly later. But talk to me about this shower pan. What is this, Dan?
This is a pre-sloped Schluter shower pan. Ooh. And if we can open this up.
Pre-sloped, look at that. So 1/4 inch a foot, I'm assuming.
1/4 inch per foot, standard.
And it feels like it's a real high density foam on there. You're not gonna crush that.
Not at all, especially with the tile on top. I don't understand how they make foam so dense, but we have had perfect luck with these.
And it's got the orange KERDI waterproofing pre-applied continuously. We've got a really large format tile on this job site. I assume this is going to make a really nice surface to put that large format on. It's
kind of perfect, yeah. Couldn't ask for a better surface.
Yeah, if you had a center drain, this wouldn't work very well. But this is all running to this side for a linear drain. And linear drains are one of the reasons why I started liking Schluter to begin with. Linear drains, I don't know, at least 10 years ago, started to be spec'd on a lot of jobs, Dan. And builders, tile guys were like, well, how the heck am I going to waterproof this? This is a nightmare with this trough to try and figure it out. So when I first saw at IBS, at least a decade ago, the linear drain solution with the KERDI pre-applied, a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah, the previous way to do it, we had these mud sets, and they were staying wet, whereas Schluter is actual waterproofing. I mean, you are not. Yep. I mean, the water is making it to the drain and not through the through to the pan.
Yeah, and that's something that really got me excited about Schluter too. I went to their 2-day training, and one of the trainers, Vinny, was talking about how if you have a traditional waterproofing where you've got a mud set, and then you're putting tile over top of that, that mud that's in there is absorbing water, and you've got this real thick mud base that really never dries. That's why you see a lot of kind of mold happening in the bottom corners of showers like I had at my old house. And it really got me thinking, oh, this may be a really big deal, having a pre-sloped pan, tiling right onto that. Now there's no mud to get wet and stay wet. At my house 2 years later with this Schluter system, my shower dries like that. I have yet to see any mold grow in my shower. It's been really nice.
Yeah, it's a fantastic system, and it's all integrated and it's all warranted by Schluter, so you can kind of rest easy that if you can document that you did the system perfectly, they will cover it, and that's nice to have that extra bit of approval.
Good stuff. Now let's talk about this. This is brand new from Schluter, just unveiled this year. This is the Vario drain system. So for instance, at my house, when I did their linear drain, I had to make sure the plumbing pipe was in the exact right location. If it was off by an inch and I had a big trough drain, I'd have to bring the plumber back to move that and get that centered. That honestly caused me a lot of anxiety at my house. But with this system now, we've eliminated that anxiety because this drain system could be located anywhere along the wall. So for instance, this shower is a 3-foot shower. And we put the drain kind of center of that 3 foot. But what happens if we thought it was going to be, let's say, a 2'6" shower? We centered that and we come out and realize, oh shoot, they want a 3-foot shower. Well, now we're off center. With this system, you can accommodate that and not have to move the pipe. So here's how it works. Javier cut this pipe flush when he was installing just to get everything out of the way. And then what he's going to do is when he puts his shower base down, he's going to cut away for where the drain body sits. You can see this drain body is relatively small compared to the 3-foot shower width. And it's already got in the box an ABS and a PVC coupling on there. So now this coupling, though, you're going to notice is going to have to end up going below the floor. The plumber, as normal, did a nice tight hole. That was good. Ran his 2-inch pipe through there. But Javier is going to have to increase that a little bit so he's got space to put his glue-on fitting on there. And then he's going to use a really cool tool that you may not have seen before. Inside pipe cutter, am I saying that right?
Inside pipe cutter.
So this inside pipe cutter will get chucked onto a drill, and this will allow you to cut the pipe from the inside about an inch or so down. Now in terms of placement though, you do need to be pretty specific about where this goes off the wall. You know, if this drain was 6 inches off the wall, that wouldn't necessarily work for us, right? We might have a big slit of tile in there to make it work. So when the project manager on this job, or the builder Daniel, this is actually Daniel's remodel, laid this out with the plumber, he said, look, I've got 1/2-inch KERDI board. And at that time, he knew that he was going to get 3/8 tile. So he said, put the edge of the drain at 1/2 inch plus 3/8. And that's exactly where we are here. Now, one nice thing about this drain and this body that you're going to see here is we have a little bit of play. So here's the body. This is 2 pieces. This is the bottom piece that will fit in and will get actually, what am I trying to say? Not mudded in, but
Thin set in.
This will get thin setted onto the pan, and then this is the grate. Now this comes in a 4-foot, and you're going to see later we can cut this down to whatever size we need. But this hole in the center here, we can vary this where we want to go because this now is going to sit over top of the drain, and it gives us a little bit of play front to back on that tile thickness. So if you set it up for, let's say, 3/8 tile, but did a slightly thinner tile, we could accommodate that. Vice versa would be the same too. If we needed to go a little thicker, a little thinner, that's going to give some offset and some play there. Let's let Javier get back to work, and we'll pick it back up once we get this down.
Sounds great.
Okay, see you in a bit. All right, guys, it's been, what, 2.5 days or so, maybe 2 days. Javier did an amazing job getting us all prepped. So at this point, all the Schluter products are in. We're totally waterproof and we're ready to set tile. Let me talk you through a couple details here. So earlier we mentioned the KERDI-LINE-VARIO. So in the past, their line drains had a body that had an outlet that really needed to be right on. And now that this is in place, you can kind of get a feel for what I was talking about earlier, where it could vary a little bit. If we had a joist in the way of the shower and this needed to be offset, no big deal. So this drain right here is just a couple inches wide. Now we do need to be careful a little bit, right? Because it can't just be in the middle of the floor if we want this to look right. But the line Vario grate, this one happens to be called the slant, is 4 feet wide. The shower itself is basically 3 feet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the drain body, and then this will get tiled in as we're tiling the floor so that this can be right up against that wall tile. And you can see the outlet portion of here could vary a little bit. Let's say if we moved, let's say if I've got a foot to work with, that gives me 6 inches either way off center that this could work with this 4-foot drain. And then we're going to cut that body to fit. We're also going to cut the top, the grate itself. Let me see if I can get it in here. And then once that's in place, you can kind of see what's happening here. It's gonna, that center point's gonna move to be directly over the drain. We're gonna cut this down, and then you're gonna have just a black hole in there. Now the outlet's not as big as if it was a full line drain. We've only got a single shower head here. Shouldn't be a problem. You wouldn't wanna put this in though if you had a car wash. A couple other things I wanna mention. This pan got filled with water, and we actually had our City of Austin inspection last week. Where we are in Austin, we fill the pan and leave it overnight. The inspector comes to make sure there's not any leaks. So there was a test ball inserted in here. We filled it up just below the top of the curb. It sat for 24 hours, no leaks, no problems, nothing changed on the water level. So we're good to go to continue on with this tile. I also like how he's using just a piece of KERDI board that's left over just to protect this, because what we've got here is the KERDI membrane, which waterproofed over top of the heat cables. So if I can just kind of show you the heat cables for a second, this line right here, which is popping over the curb, is now heating the shower floor, but we want that cable to be dry, so it's underneath a KERDI membrane. And then this is the uncoupling membrane that's intended for the DITRA-HEAT cables. They call this DITRA-HEAT. And then this is now the snaking pattern, and we did a 3-2 pattern for the heat. And they purposely put 2 different cables in. If something were to happen to this cable here, we'd still want to be able to use this cable on the floor. And then he just grouted these in to hold these in place mainly. But at this point, this is now ready to receive our floor tile. And this uncoupling membrane is going to allow that subfloor to have ever so slight movement and not have any cracks. We've got a pretty stout floor here with our Advantech subfloor, but that membrane is really, really important. And if we were over concrete, I would tell you that you absolutely have to use that DITRA membrane, that decoupling membrane. Super, super important. Let's let these guys continue to go on tile, and then I'm really looking forward to seeing this niche get all lit up. This is going to be pretty cool. We'll go get these guys back to work. We'll see you in a bit. All right, friends, day 2, we've gotten a lot done, and by we, I don't mean Dan and I legitimately mean Javier has been rocking this job. Dan, catch me up on where we are now compared to last time. So last time we talked, pan was not in yet, walls were up. Catch me up to speed.
Well, there's been a lot of burritos, and I've sent a lot of emails, but the real hero is Javier here.
Killed it, man.
He's killing it. Man, he has put up his KERDI board, of course. We know he has waterproofed the penetrations. He's cut in this Schluter niche, which has this light feature, which is a new Schluter niche.
This is brand new to Schluter, right? This is the light kit. So at the top here, you're seeing this low voltage wire coming through. We'll still waterproof that hole, which is conveniently in the bottom, so gravity is going to work in our favor. That is a wire actually from Schluter, which is going to go back and could be with the Schluter switch or could be with a transformer. We're going the transformer route. I'll catch up on that later. But the niche is in. We also got the sloped pan in, which we spent a little time on. And then you're going to notice on top of the pan, though, there's another sheet of KERDI, and that's because...
It's because there is a heat cable in there, and we do not want water meeting that heat cable. So I don't know if this is exactly how Schluter says it, but we're basically building another pan on top of our pan because we don't want any water touching our heat cable. We've got 2 cables run. We've got the main floor, and then we've got this line that's coming, jumping the curb and into the shower pan, and yeah, it's gonna be nice and toasty in there.
That's snaking underneath my feet here. Then you put this other layer of the KERDI board down, and that not board, I'm sorry, KERDI fabric down,
yes,
I should
the
say.
Fleece
They call it. And then he's doing that critical step of doing all the inside corners in the pan to truly make this a waterproof pan. Now, where we are in Austin, Texas, Dan, we have to flood test this. So we're going to put a test ball into that drain right there, and basically we're immediately ready for a flood test, right?
Yeah, as soon as we pass, we're good to go.
Yeah.
And that's,
So there's no reason why you couldn't, at the end of the day today, fill this pan up and water tester, right?
100% ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to mention, I was here when Javier was putting the DITRA-HEAT peel and stick down. So this DITRA is an uncoupling membrane, meaning it's allowing that tile not to bond with the subfloor. So if the subfloor has any slight movement, any slight changes in it, any imperfections, that doesn't translate to the tile. Now, we a lot of times think about uncoupling membranes over concrete, which you absolutely want them, right? If that concrete cracks and you don't have that, it's going to translate right up through into the tile. Also important on subfloor like we are here. Now, we do have a pretty bomber subfloor. This is Advantech X Factor, really high grade, super bomber product from Huber. Also has a yellow kind of film on the top. Reminds me a lot of Zip System sheathing. It's not really the same product, but similar kind of performance. One thing to note is we used the primer on there, and it took a little longer to dry. If we looked at the primer bottle from Schluter, they're saying that primer dries in like 15 to 60 minutes. And Dan, it took us more like an hour and a half for this to dry. So we had some other things to do, luckily, during that wait time. But I'll tell you, when Javier got started on doing the peel and stick, it literally took him about 17, I timed it, about 17 minutes to do that floor here, and then another 5 minutes or so to do the shower, and boom, he was done. So not having to mix thin set, not having to carry those bags up. In the time that he would have had to mix thin set and wait the 18 minutes between the, the slaking time that it needs, he had that peel and stick down and it was good to go. So this is really good stuff. I was impressed.
This is a 2-3-2 puck pattern, the spacing on the floor. That's a really nice warm pattern. If you are considering putting one of these in, you cannot cut this heat cable. So you really have to use Schluter's calculator and your own kind of, we'll draw on a grid, making sure we've ordered the right length of cable, because there is nothing to do with extra slack other than buy a new cable. So that's something we have to think about.
Smart.
And yeah, that's Javier did a great job laying his kind of serpentine pattern here to make sure we're 3 pucks off the wall. I believe that Schluter, they used to make sure you had to be 3 pucks off. I believe Schluter has changed that to 2 pucks, but we are old school and have just gotten in the habit of making sure we stay away from cabinets, toe kicks, walls. The other thing I do want to say, not this has ever happened to us, but it has. Make sure if you plan to have any floor penetrations like door stops, glass brackets, you need to take pictures. You need to measure off the wall, because it's not super fun if your whole bathroom is done and then you have to figure out where the nail went through your cable. Not that that's ever happened to us.
Yeah,
we got through it though.
Not a good thing. Hey, last thing before we get out of Javier's way here, Dan, I do want to point out, Javier, amazing job on the drain. This is that Vario drain now that it's in place, and you can see the drain body looks pretty small, because what's going to happen is the stainless body for the actual linear is going to go in here. Remember, that came out 4 to 8 inches. So Javier's going to have to cut that, and the body itself will get integrated into the tile. You need to use at least a 3/8 inch tile, because that's the height of that drain. And so that's going to basically sit right on top of our pan here, and then there's an outlet in that will sit right over top. And then he's also going to be cutting the stainless grill, or grate, I guess is the correct term, that goes on top. There's 4 different options currently. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing Schluter, if there's more options in the future on those. And they even include a little end cap on there. But he's not going to do that until he actually runs the tile, because that needs to be cut to the exact length of what his tile is. And the other thing I want to make mention on here, great job integrating between Dan, Javier, and Daniel, my project manager on this job. They had a great pre-construction meeting that they got the plumber involved. They used the template so they could really figure out exactly where that drain body is going to go. But now that it's in place, you can kind of get a flavor for, oh, if this was off to the right or to the left by 2 inches, that's the beauty of this Vario system. And that may have been because we made a mistake. It may be because we got a floor joist in the way. If this is a remodel project, there's only so many places those can go. And if you're using the traditional, or not the traditional, if you're using the other linear drains like I have at my house and like they've had now for a long time on the market, you only have one outlet location. And so you have to really work around that. With this, you've got some ability to move that. So this is a cool product. I'm excited about this, Dan. Anything I missed that we need to talk about before we move on the tile install here?
Javier, what do you think, man? Anything that we might not have covered? I'm really excited about this pan. We talked about this pre-slope. I love to see the slope. You can see the perfection of it. Doing traditional mud sets is a beautiful art, but there's something very comforting about knowing that you have an exact 1/4 inch per foot. There's just no messing with that. And then also, you've mentioned a few times that you know, the drying. This is not soaking below. This is true waterproofing. The water.
Water's not getting past this.
Correct.
That's right. Yeah, that's a big deal. And then also, I do want to mention this is a large format tile. This is like 24 by
48. Yeah,
by 24 by 48 tile.
Yeah.
So real big. And so having this mono slope here with the drain that ends right at the wall and the wall tile dies right into the drain. There's some important layout here, but Schluter gives you everything you need. But be sure to have those pre-construction meetings. Look at those directions. Watch their great videos. Make sure you know this isn't intended as a how-to video. This is really more of a how we did it video. The other thing I want to mention is Daniel chose not to put a floor drain in here. He does have a beautiful curb, which is really nice for a kid's bath. This drain body is only really intended for a single shower head. And he's got a, what am I trying to say here? A secondary, like, arm-mounted shower here. But this is a kid's bath. They're really using one head at a time. This is not a car wash like you see some body wash stations that you see in a lot of master baths these days with 37 heads in there. This has a limited amount of flow. It's not going to be a problem at all with one shower head. But this body is smaller than some of the other units. So if you need, you know, 4 body shower sprays or whatever in there, this is not the right system for you. You want to go one with a more traditional tray, right?
Yeah, the KERDI line drain, I believe this is a 2-inch grade, and the KERDI line drains have a 4-inch, I believe. So if you need that extra, you know, if you need to discharge that much water, like if you're washing your horse or your car in there, you then go with the traditional, which are still available. This is not the new Schluter drain. This is an addition to their line, and for these remodels and these times when you don't know where it's going to be centered, you have this option.
I'd like to point out that the horse washing station is an unauthorized use of Schluter products, and I've never built one, but I suspect the framing is not up to speed either here. So do not bring your horse into the shower, all right, kids? Guys, let's let Javier get back to work here. Oh, I know. One more thing I did want to mention. At my house, I did a bunch of bathroom drains because I'm a total crazy nerd when it comes to water overflows. Schluter has a new product that I saw at IBS last year. We'll throw a little B-roll video in here so you can see what that looks like. But brand new drain body that's intended for floor drains. I love it. I think that's really cool. Next house I build for my family, I will use that, and I'd recommend that for you and laundries and secondary spaces, you know, wherever you've got some place that if water's on the floor, it's a problem. So we did not set up this floor for that. Like at my house, if you saw any of the videos, I did a full waterproof pan basically out of my DITRA-HEAT system. We did not do that here. We're simply laying tile and we're dropping wood base down into this more kind of traditional kids bath. But let's get Javier back to work. We're going to start laying some tile. We're going to light up this niche before too long, and we'll show you what this bathroom looks like.
All right, Javi, you're up, buddy.
All right, we're back. Javier did an amazing job. Daniel, killer work, dude.
Thank you so much,
brother. Impressive.
Appreciate it, and big props to Javier.
So talk to me about this large format tile. I don't see this very often. This is gorgeous.
We love large format porcelain. It is so substantial. This isn't a massive by the, you know, we do some huge bathrooms, but it just gives so much stature to it. And I love porcelain. It is not absorptive. It's easy to clean. So you get this really, really substantial look, and it's really easy to care for.
I really like it. So talk me through the Schluter now. So we've got floor heat in place, right? And we can't obviously see it. I do like how you guys put the sticker down on the floor.
Achtung.
Be careful.
Yes. Yeah.
And what are we being careful of?
I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, assuming that it's not, you know, powered right now, but the main thing we want to do is there's got to be great coordination with the builders, and we now have heating cables throughout here. So floor penetrations are something we have to look out for. We have tons of pictures. We've
Right.
taken measurements of where
So
it
like
is.
if someone drilled a doorstop and nailed a cable, that's going to be a big problem.
It's a huge problem. You are basically demoing tile to at best you're demoing tile to fix that problem.
Right.
And so we really have to be extremely aware of where everything is. We're jumping this curb because there's also heat inside the pan, which not everybody does, but it's a wonderful
That's fascinating.
addition. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, when he ran that heat cable in the pan, then you came back with another layer of the KERDI waterproofing.
Yeah, the KERDI fleece.
So that cable is totally dry in there. It's
100%.
never going to get wet.
So there's almost like a pan on top of a pan because,
Right.
of course, you don't want any water touching an electrified cable.
Yeah, it's almost a double waterproofing.
Correct.
And this, which was really kind of the point of the video, this Vario drain, check how cool this is.
Neat.
So remember, this came longer, and Javier cut this to size.
Yep.
And then he put these two little cap pieces on, which cover up his end cut, so you'll never know that was cut from the top.
It looks
like
factory cut.
looks factory. They've only got a couple options on this grate currently. I suspect that might change in the future. But now that the grate is off, you can see that our drain, if that was a little off center, a couple inches either way because a joist was in the way in a remodel, no big deal.
That's the whole benefit of this system is that you're not cutting joists. You can make some decisions later and still have a perfectly centered looking install, and you have some play on that drain where you don't with other systems.
That's pretty cool. And also you can tell now the drain itself is only, I don't know, 5-6 inches long, something like that. And that's what actually sinks down in. And then this body, which carries the water, is basically the same thickness as your tile. And Javier cut that and put that in place so that it's right up against the wall and it runs totally edge to edge, even though we're customized here.
Super clean, super clean.
That grate just drops in and it absolutely looks perfect. I mean, that's fantastic. What a killer product from those guys. And speaking of killer products, this is the other brand new product for them, that lighted niche. I love how the light runs all the way side to side. And there's a couple different options to mount the transformer for that. In this case, we're going to mount it up in the attic so we can have a kind of a normal switch that looks like everybody else's switch. But there is a specialty switch you could do if you don't want to mount that elsewhere. There's a couple different options. I really like that. That turned out great.
Very clean.
Also, look how Javier mounted that perfectly in kind of on top of this tile here. That turned out great.
You got to hit the joints. That's like,
I mean, that was, that's money. Talk to me about this, though. I know we're going to have a couple questions here.
Sure.
Are we waterproofed up against this window?
100% waterproofed. I know they are going to go in with some sort of a wood trim there, and that will go in after the fact. But right now, we are 100% waterproofed.
And by the way, this is a UPVC window, so this is totally impervious to the water that this shower is going to throw at and might run down this window. This is from European Architectural Supply. And Javier bonded this KERDI membrane to the window frame with some KERDI fix.
Yes.
And then the builder is going to come in and do some trim here. And it is a little unusual to see no drywall in at this phase. We got a couple other things going on here with some wood accents and details. And lastly, I want to mention, super cool, he's got a floating vanity coming and a wall hung faucet. I think this turned out amazing. I can't wait to see the final bathroom. Killer work by Barrett.
Thank you.
So fun to get to see some of these brand new products from Schluter and a couple of their older products as well, but just the killer execution. So huge job to these guys. I'll put a link in the description to Barrett, to their Instagram page if you want to go follow those guys. And big thanks to Schluter for sponsoring today's video. I use their products at my house. I'm a big believer. They seem to always be innovating and coming out with new products that solve problems for me as a builder or for you guys as tile setters. So really big fan of their products. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. You know we've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Then you know how I close this out. Follow me on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.